The guys who pull the most, what do they have in common? Yeah, this is a great question because the guys who pull the most do not have a lot of the traits in common that you would think. Some of them are good looking, right? There's a good amount of them are good looking, but a good amount of them aren't. I knew a guy in Vegas who was in his 50s and he was like 5'7" and just exactly average looking, but also in his 50s. So average for in his 50s. And he pulled all the time. And I wasn't seeing him pull like tens constantly, but he was pulling attractive, like genuinely cute, 7, 8, whatever. I don't want to rate too much, but like 7s and 8s or whatever, consistently. And they would be like 21, 22, very young, which I think it's a bit odd to want that big of an age gap, but he was able to do that, which is impressive, right? And you would think, it's all about looks, but you dispel that. The more you go around guys who actually get success with women through cold approach, the more you'll see that some of them are good looking, some aren't. And sure, it's an advantage, but the guys who are less good looking often are the most motivated. The best looking guys will settle for the easy situation they get. They'll get a girl who's all over them really easily, and they tend to have a bigger ego about not wanting to get rejected, not wanting to look bad because it would hurt I'm the good looking guy. How can a girl reject me? So you won't see them like approach everyone, really go for it. You won't see them when they're getting like a girl is like maybe puts up an obstacle, their friend tries to cock block, they'll just give up more easily. That's what tends to happen. So the guys who are average or below average, they can make up for that disadvantage by being willing to put more effort into it, right? By being willing to push the interactions, approach more, basically they have less of an advantage and they put in more effort. So it's not that. The next one you would think is charisma, which is one that definitely there's a correlation. Most of the guys who are really good with women, a lot of them are charismatic. But, and I'm going to turn my light up. Is that the best I can do? Well, it's going to be a little dark. But I'm surprised how many of the guys I know who have the most insane results on paper in terms of how hot the girls they've slept with and how many are not even charismatic. They're not even charming. Some of them you would think maybe they do have autism, right? Like they're socially weird and they're just like really want to get laid. That's what I've noticed. And there's several guys like this I knew in Vegas. Partly why I wanted to leave Vegas, because the guys I knew who were good, a lot of them are just kind of like cringy to be around. But those guys had this mindset that I'm going to pull. I'm going to do whatever it takes. They have a high sex drive, not just like, they're turned on or whatever, but they just like, you can tell when they're at the club, they want to get laid. Like they have no shame about that. And they might actually kind of look weird to you. Like, they look a little cringe and they might like, have some awkward interactions. You see them fail and you're like, oh my God, I don't want to be associated with this guy. But then you see them walk out with a hot girl 30 minutes later, right? So there's certainly things from that archetype that I don't recommend taking and adopting, but these guys are not charismatic. They're not that smooth. They're not coming up with funny jokes or that interesting stories. They just are focused on pulling, focused on making something happen. And most guys are too far in the not being focused at all on getting results. And they don't lead. They don't approach enough. They aren't willing to, put themselves in a situation where they might get an awkward rejection or laughed at or something. But you don't want to go all the way in that direction, but you want to go towards the middle, right? You want to actually put yourself out there a lot more because they don't play it safe, right? They're playing to win, not playing to lose. That's the biggest thing I see in common with guys who pull a lot. It's not a deep voice. It's not talking slow. It's not, carrying themselves really well, even necessarily. They tend to have a certain type of confidence, but that confidence is from all the momentum because they just don't care about rejection. The guys who I see who pull the most, they don't care about rejection. And the reason for that is because they're willing to put themselves through rejection again and again to get the success they want.